Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Inside Arkansas Live. Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis here with you again on this fine Thursday in Fayetteville. How's everybody feeling today after what was honestly just a great day all around yesterday for Razorbacks, whether it was the Tyson Foods deal or the Nolan Richardson statue or basketball just blowing the doors off of Texas? Some really good stuff that went down. We're going to talk about all of it, but let us know in the chat how you feel because we plan on spending a lot of time in there with you guys today. But before we get rolling through all that, Andrew, long time no see, I guess. How are you doing today? It feels like it's been ages, but it's really been like 10 hours or something since we were hanging out.
Yeah, it'd be hard to be doing better, honestly. One, because we get to do what we do. We get to talk ball. We get to hang out with the chat. We get to argue with each other, all that nonsense. But also things are trending very well for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And you know me, like my favorite thing is when you don't have to stress. And going into this weekend, Arkansas has a basketball game on Saturday where, you don't really have to stress. Even if they lose by 1,000, nothing really bad happens to you. Obviously, we want them to play well. We want them to look good. But I like being in this spot where you don't have something to prove. And I'm sure there will be some pressure on Arkansas baseball to not suck against Stetson. But, you're not facing an SEC opponent. There's not a ton, hanging over you where you're like, oh, God, what are we going to do? You got to have to wait a week for that. And so for me, my vibes are great. I look forward to arguing with the chat today. I feel a little feisty,
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad that you feel a little bit feisty. We need a little bit of that. I hope the chat feels feisty. We had a couple in there yesterday, and I was like, okay, all right, bring it on, man.
More feisty than you would have expected, considering it was maybe one of the better days of the season.
yeah, exactly. Well, here's what I want to do, because Arkansas basketball is obviously a great game for them last night. 105-85 win over Texas, and it got me to thinking because I was looking at just kind of this season as a whole. And so I'm going to throw a few quick stats out there for you, Andrew, and then anyone who continues to tell us that this basketball team sucks because they got smacked by Florida, think about this for a second because we're 30 games into the season now. Arkansas has won 8 SEC games by double digits this season. 5 of them have been by 20 or more points. They've handed Vanderbilt, LSU, and Texas their most lopsided losses of the season. They've scored over 100 points 7 times on the year. They've been ranked in the AP poll every single week from the preseason all the way through March. Every metric that they have is inside the top 20. They're up to 16th in the net. They're 16th in KenPom. They're 15th in strength of record. They have 13 wins over the first 2 quadrants. They have 0 losses outside the first quadrant. The only other teams in the country who can say that, by the way, Duke, Arizona, Houston, Purdue, Iowa State, Nebraska, and Louisville. So that's a pretty exclusive list. It's good company to keep right there. That's a pretty nice, laundry list of accolades for the Razorbacks there. I think it's fair to say that Arkansas has comfortably moved from the pretty good Pigs to the really good Razorbacks. We have graduated this basketball team.
Yeah, point differential matters, and it matters, and we joked about it early in the year where it mattered almost too much when you're playing these non-conference games, and it's like if you don't win by 60, you get knocked in the metrics or whatever, but the reason why is because it does matter. The difference between beating a team by 3 and the difference between beating a team by 13 and the difference between beating them by 30 are all very different, and real quickly, you can also look at the Florida and Arkansas matchup and say point differential matters there. I agree Arkansas is not 34 points worse than Florida, but the reason they lost by 34, I think, is a real one. And so I think there's something you can take there. But I do think if consistently, I remember Colin Cowherd, shout out to Colin Cowherd, completely blew my mind one time. It was like 2019, and he was like, yeah, if you just look at, if you get 10 games in the NFL season and you look at the top 5 teams in point differential, it's probably the top 5 Super Bowl favorites. Like those are probably the teams that you expect to win it all. And sometimes it's the undefeated team. Sometimes it's just the 8-4 team that is actually really, winning all their games by a wide margin. In baseball, you see this a lot of times where you'll see 2 teams fighting for the division, and we'll say we're 100 games in and they have the same record. The one that has the better run differential is probably the team that's going to wind up winning the division. You very rarely see a team that's right at 500 in run differential that winds up winning their division in the MLB.
Yeah.
It says something about you as a team that you are consistently not only winning games, but winning them at a large margin. And, I think it's easy for people to look at this basketball team and see things for what they aren't and say, oh, well, they don't really have this dominant inside presence. And, defensively, they're just kind of okay. And, consistency, you just don't know if you can count on them, which I get. And especially early in the year, you had a little bit of just a unreliable nature with that Auburn game, that Georgia game, and the Kentucky game. But I think you said it well, that it's not that this team is the most well-rounded and best team in the country, but they've been about as consistent as you can be in SEC play, especially since that bye. And obviously the Florida game is a tough loss, but I think that was just you losing to a good team. I think what this team has kind of shown you is that if you're, just kind of average, not only can this team beat you, they can whip your ass. They will make it clear just how different how big the gap is between you and them. And I think that's a valuable trait. And I think as we move into NCAA tournament time and you start running into some of these matchups, you want to know, can my team handle this matchup? And there are certainly some teams at the top of the bracket that you look at and you say, I don't know if they can handle that matchup. But I think you need to have some of that consistency and some of that reliability, especially against pretty good teams, there are a lot of pretty good teams in the NCAA tournament. I think there are a lot of pretty good teams in the NCAA tournament that would get their ass whipped by Arkansas.
Yeah,
one of them did last night.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been a handful that's happened to here in the course of the last few weeks for sure. And you touched on it a little bit in the open there, but well, actually, let's just start here. For those who wanted to see Arkansas play at the SEC tournament, who wanted to make the trip, we have good news for you. You won't even have to take off work to do it, right? Like, this is a weekend event in Nashville for the Razorbacks now. Clinched the double bye last night, got that out of the way by beating up on Texas. Job well done. Arkansas controlled their own destiny. They took care of it, which is exactly what they needed to do. No Wednesday sadness for the Hogs this year, thank God. Arkansas has earned the rest that it needs. And so we'll see you Friday down there in Nashville, right? I don't know about you, and we'll talk about the rest and, the balance between staying sharp and everything like that in a minute, but I love that this is now a stress-free Saturday in Columbia for the Razorbacks. And I want to talk about some of the things that Cal said about this game in Columbia, just some of the things that he said about his team in general, but I don't know, man. It just felt like with everything that was going down Tuesday night with the other teams that could sneak up and pass, Kentucky didn't play well. They took that loss. Oklahoma snuck Missouri out of nowhere. And it just seemed like everything was kind of falling into place. Well, anytime that happens for the Razorbacks, it usually means we're about to do something stupid. And they didn't, man. So credit to them, start to finish. They were just fired up, ready to play, went out there and got it done. And yeah, you go into the season, your goal is always, hey, we want to win the SEC regular season title. That's the first step before March Madness and anything else. Well, you came short of that. Well, the next goal at that point is secure that double bye and make life a lot easier for yourself in the conference tournament. And it makes the conversations more realistic and more relevant of, hey, why not go down there and win that thing now? So I'm very, very pleased with what they were able to accomplish last night.
Yeah, and just no matter what, I mean, obviously, if you end up losing on Saturday and you do it in disgusting fashion, that'll not make you feel good. That'll certainly hurt a little bit. But I think that kind of gives you a little bit of sense of armor where it's like we can go into this weekend knowing that no matter what, we're going to be in a good situation. I think for the mental load that, because this time of year, it's a very stressful time of year. It's a lot that weighs on these guys in terms of, they got their draft stock to worry about. There are millions of dollars at stake for multiple members of this Razorback basketball team. Their futures, some of these guys, even Trevin, Nick Pringle, this is their last chance to play college basketball, last chance maybe to play. I mean, they'll play basketball somewhere, but like the last chance to really guaranteed play some basketball. That mental stress is also weighing on you. You've also, it's been a long season. The 6 months that you spent before this, that's weighing on you. And so anytime you can get something that relieves a little bit of that mental workload, I think is huge. And I'm sure we're going to get into the conversation soon about, should they just not play at all? Should they just skip it? Just don't even show up, screw it. That's conversation is not very interesting to me. But I do think that the concept of giving yourself a little bit of an easier assignment and giving yourself a little bit of an easier mental load, I think is going to be very valuable. And I think your goal now, because, you now still, I guess, what is it? 2 weeks before Arkansas will be playing an NCAA tournament game, almost exactly 14 days from now, Arkansas will be playing an NCAA tournament game. You just kind of need to stay in shape, stay ready, stay loose, stay sharp. That's what these next 10 days are about for me. It's not about, hey, let's stop playing basketball completely so we can rest up and be refreshed and rejuvenated. I think you need to kind of stay in rhythm, stay in shape, stay good, stay in good spirits, and that's what I'm looking for the Arkansas Razorbacks the next couple of weeks.
That's you set me up perfectly without even knowing it, because the next part of this that I wanted to get to was the balance that they have to find here, because Cal was asked last night in the press conference. I should have pulled the clip. I didn't. I got a couple others that we'll play here in a little bit, but he was asked about getting the double bye and how important that was for this team to get the 6 days of rest before going to the SEC tournament and everything. And he was straight up and saying, like, yeah, that's why this was big. I think he knows that, but he was also just very, straightforward and, about ramping practice back up, because he felt like these guys had lost a little bit of their edge. And if they ramp things up, then they look pretty good as a result the other day, or last night, you know what I mean? So in fact, and grab your nitroglycerin pills here, Razorback fans, because you're not going to like this, some of you. He said that he was in the building the morning after they got back from the Florida game, that beatdown, and he was sitting there thinking to himself, like, I think maybe we've lost our edge. We need to start practicing harder, talk to the staff about it, whatever. And that Darius Akob walked out of the training room and went to Cal and said, Coach, I got to get back in practice. Mm-hmm. I have to be back in practice. So not only has Darius Akob refused to sit out and rest games, he is now refusing to sit out a practice. And then he turned out one of his best performances of the season as a result. So, I think about it, and I'm sure they'll take extra days off or whatever between Saturday and going to the SEC tournament. But I'm just telling you right now that they're worried about keeping their competitive edge. Like you said, staying sharp and everything. They're going to Columbia to win on Saturday, and they're not just going to take the full week off and then go to Nashville and not give a damn about the results and everything. So they're going to get their rest, but it's going to be interesting to see what that balance looks like, because they practiced really hard for a stretch there in the season. He felt like they were wearing down. You want to get them the R&R that they need. But yes, I think when they are out there on the floor, maybe it's shorter practices that are higher intensity. I don't know what it looks like, but finding that balancing act of keeping these dudes on their toes, like you mentioned, I think is going to be really important for them.
Well, and like, guys, they do specifically schedule games in between all of these events. Arkansas is going to play on Saturday. Like Cal said, they don't have to travel till Wednesday. They don't have to play until Friday. That is rest. That is time for you to, get refreshed, get your treatment in the training room or whatever. And then you play on Friday. Let's say you play one on Friday, you lose on Saturday. Then you get 5 more days of rest. And then you travel on Wednesday, play on Friday or whatever it is. Like, that is a lot of time. And so I know everyone's focus is like, hey, let's just like throw these guys in bubble wrap and, lock them in a closet and then bring them out when it's time to win games in March Madness. And I'm not trying to, I get the understanding. I just don't think that's how the world works. That's not how sports work. You don't just show up in the middle of March and win March Madness games. You do it by preparing to play in those games, by building up that endurance, building up that toughness. What better way to do it than, one, these games that Arkansas has been playing lately? I mean, that Florida game, that Alabama game, that Texas game last night. These are the Missouri game. These are games against NCAA tournament teams. That's what you're trying to face in a couple of weeks. So why would you not want to make the most of that opportunity, get those reps, see what it's like to have to push yourself? And, I know I've made the marathon analogy a ton of times, but like in March, what you have to do is you have to dig deep. You have to push yourself for 40 minutes. The idea that you're just going to not do anything, that you're not going to practice, you're not going to play, you're not going to go out there and run, that you're just going to show up in the middle of March and you're going to be able to push yourself and do that for 40 minutes, that just does not compute with my brain, and it doesn't appear to compute with Darius Akob's brain either. So I love that he's out here saying that he's like, hey, I got to practice. I got to get back to doing what I do. And that Cal's kind of worried about these things. He doesn't want them to lose that edge. We'll see. It's a balance because you don't want to go balls to the wall, but I think there's a lot of value still to be had in going through the motions a little bit, playing these games, maybe even playing a close game or two and kind of feeling what that's like, and just kind of building that continuity with your team.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for when you still have a lot to play for, the level of intensity at which you play versus when you've kind of accomplished what you need to accomplish. That sense of urgency might not be there as much. So maybe that's what we're looking at Saturday with Arkansas. It's like you're either going to be the 2 or the 3. It's not going to change that much by way of what it looks like for you in the SEC tournament. You're playing on Friday. It's going to be a difference in 2 hours or whatever in tip-off time. that's all there. Okay, fine. Missouri still playing for some other things there, revenge factor, all that, fine. But and I wound up talking to myself into this at the end of the report card last night because I was trying to work my way through it because I'm like, all right. And we said this on the post-game show last night. Well, Cal's not gonna just sit, Acuff and Leak and all these guys entirely and play Aiden Kelly and Elmer and start those dudes. He's not gonna do that. It's not gonna happen at Missouri. So can you take some minutes off these guys? Can you take the foot off the gas a little bit? And hey, we're not gonna play as as fast of a pace or whatever. Like, are there ways to play the game within the game where you can take a little bit off these dudes? But the more and more I got to think about it, that's so easy for us to say as opposed to it is for those guys to go out there and do. Because what's going to happen on Saturday? We're going to get out there and Arkansas is going to take the floor and Missouri's going to have the gold rush and it's going to be a packed house and the students are going to be calling Trevin Brazile a bunch of slurs and they're going to be booing you and they're going to be booing Cal and Missouri's going to be playing with their hair on fire and they're going to be physical. They're going to be trying to push you around. They're going to be talking shit. And Arkansas is just supposed to be like, well, this game doesn't really matter for us. So we're just going to kind of coast on through. Ain't no way. There ain't no way.
And I don't know why, as a Razorback fan, you would want that to be what Arkansas responds with is, oh, they're really trying to win this game. Let's just back away. Let's just not do this. And then you think they're going to just randomly be tough in 2 weeks. Like, I don't like that. Yeah. And I mean, what's the theme of March Madness? You just got to be prepared for whether it's a team with a bunch of white dudes that shoot threes, whether it's a team with 3 7-footers, whether it's a team from a mid-major or it's a team from nearby or whatever. You have to be prepared to bring it. And you have to be able to bring it whenever it's time to go. Like, there is no on-off switch. And I think this goes back to, these conversations we had early in the year where we're like, oh, Arkansas's coming off a good performance. Are they going to be able to rise this weekend? Are they going to be able to string two? But, oh, this is a little bit of a letdown spot here. And, oh, Auburn's coming off a loss, and so they're going to be more motivated. That's all nonsense. Like, it really genuinely is. That's what you say when you're mediocre. That's what you say when you have a team that is not capable of being good week in and week out. And, I mean, listen, if you're going to go to the Final Four, you have to play good basketball 4 games, 2 times per week. That's what Arkansas has been doing for this entire season, 2 games per week. That's just kind of that's the flow and rhythm they're in. And I think they need to get used to being ready to play twice per week, being ready to answer that call and, being motivated by stuff that has nothing to do with SEC tournament seeding or net ranking or conference standings or any of that bullshit. Like, you need to be motivated because you're trying to be the best basketball team in the country. You're trying to change your family's lives by getting drafted high and, making a ton of money. Like, if these dudes need Cal or us or anybody or stuff to be on the line for them to show up and play good basketball Saturday, then that's just not the squad you really want to have going into March. And I think Cal spoke to that with the team where he's like, if I have to get you ready, then you're just not, you're not really with us. You're not really a player of the caliber that we need at this level. I think this time of year you should have guys that are chomping at the bit to get into March Madness, chomping at the bit to get into a big time game. The idea that you're supposed to coddle them and kind of be treating them with kid gloves and be like, hey, don't work hard now, but start working hard in a little bit. It's complete and utter woke nonsense is what it is.
Yeah, no, it is, man. It truly is. I want to pull up the bracket here and look at the possibilities for matchups for the tournament as it stands today. Because I got to be honest with you, I kind of like the way this looks. So there you have it right now. And obviously Arkansas and Alabama tied for second place. Alabama won the head-to-head, so they've got the tiebreaker. But that's got Arkansas chilling. Obviously, you got the double bye until Friday. You play the late game Friday evening, which I like. And you get – so Auburn and Ole Miss, whoever wins that game, who cares? They play Vanderbilt. I wouldn't actually be surprised at all to see Vanderbilt get popped there. But either way, kind of feels like a nice little matchup for Arkansas on Friday with a potential rematch against Alabama looming on Saturday. Not bad. Not bad at all as it pertains to how that shapes up. And you avoid Florida again until Sunday, should you make it that far.
Well, and also, again, I come back to prepping for the actual tournament, NCAA tournament. Vandy is right around the level of team. Well, actually, that's not true. If it's Auburn, they are right around the level of team that you would play in round 1. Yeah. Vandy would actually be a little bit better than what you would play in round 1. And then Bama and Vandy, really both, are exactly in that line of what you would face in round 2. So if you're trying to know what it's like to have to beat a 4 or 5 seed, you're about to get your opportunity. You're about to get your reps to see what that's like. And obviously Arkansas's played Vandy. They've played Bama. But you're playing them on a neutral site. You're playing them in a tournament setting. Like, I don't see how this is not, like, the best possible, prep for you. And then, hey, if you end up making it to Sunday and you get a rematch with Florida or whoever, like, all right, let's see what you got there. But that's what I'm excited about, is the first 2 games aspect of this, because you're going to face a pretty good squad. You're either going to face an Auburn team that is playing with their hair on fire trying to make the tournament. We'll see what they end up at. Or you're going to be playing a Vanderbilt team that isn't playing great basketball right now, but, again, is in that kind of range of teams you might face in March. I love that opportunity.
Yeah, me too. The rest of the bracket's interesting. So, Florida's locked in at the 1. Alabama and Arkansas are going to be the 2 and 3 in some order. So I guess the 4 seed is still a little bit up for grabs. Obviously Tennessee holds it right now. Missouri is still at play. If they beat Arkansas, Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt on Saturday. I think they could get the 4. I think that Kentucky could still get it. Now, they would have to beat Florida, and then a whole bunch of other stuff would have to happen for them to get there. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I guess I don't know how the tiebreaker stuff works here, but like right now, Tennessee's at 11-6, so they're in sole possession of that 4th spot. But Kentucky, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt are all a game back. So I have no idea how that would work.
All own the tiebreaker over Tennessee, right?
I damn near all of them
do.
Yeah, it's crazy. Tennessee is it's almost like they're allergic to. I shouldn't say that, allergic to beating good teams, but they kind of are. I guess they beat Alabama earlier in the year. But
in 2026, they have not really beat good teams.
Yeah, they got Did they beat Vandy? Yeah, they beat Vandy on the road. But it's been a weird season for them. Kentucky owns them. We know that. Arkansas took it to them. Florida beat them. Whatever. But here's what I want to do. And we do this on Inside SEC Basketball, but now we just have one slate of games here to pick, and then we'll run the simulator and see what the bracket spits out. And this is going to be the goal. This is going to be exactly what it looks like when we go to Nashville next week. So Alabama hosting Auburn. Who you got?
I think Bama beats them. I think Auburn is not completely dead and done, but I don't see Auburn rising to the occasion. And even if they do rise to the occasion, they got a pretty good Bama team to play. Even though Bama doesn't really need this game at all, I think they take care of business.
I feel like since they just got, that takes away from Auburn's chances.
Yes.
Like now Nate Oates has their attention. They were probably going to win that game at home anyway, but
they're having the same conversation we're having right now about keeping that competitiveness alive and keeping your team locked in. They don't want to lose to Auburn. Think about what kind of tone that would set for Bama entering the postseason if you lose on your home floor to your rival who sucks.
Right. Kentucky at home against Florida.
I now think Florida beats them. I know we said the other day that we were doing the thing about like Kentucky's probably going to go 1-1 no matter what. I now think Florida probably just whips their ass. Kentucky's kind of done this thing all year where they'll rise up and they'll have a big win. When they beat Tennessee or when they beat Arkansas and they beat Vanderbilt last weekend, you're like, oh, okay, like they've got it in them. They're starting to figure it out. And then they just go and they're uncompetitive in a game. It's the weirdest deal. Like Georgia beats them at home all of a sudden, or Missouri, or they go down to Texas A&M and they're getting run off the floor. And it's like, well, who is this team? It feels like you got to be more consistent to beat Florida. The only thing I'm not sure about, is Thomas Houck going to play? Is he not? I know he didn't play the other day. They said it was precautionary. That could impact some things for sure. I mean, he's going to be the runner-up for SEC Player of the Year, but. I think I'm with you, man. He'd be punting SEC Player of the Year if he sits out.
Just absolutely punting it.
Personally, not the end of the world. I wouldn't even begrudge him for it. But if we're splitting hairs and the other guy has better numbers, don't sit out the final game of the year.
Yeah. LSU is at home against Texas A&M.
I think A&M. And by the way, A&M got them a nice little win, the other day. I think A&M gets another win, and it's probably going to be ugly, like 72-70.
I think so. Arkansas at Missouri.
I think Arkansas probably wins. I didn't feel that way prior to watching both teams play this midweek. Missouri,
yeah,
and I get it. That's a ultimate square move. Oh, Missouri played poorly. Arkansas played great. Arkansas beat them. But I really do think like Missouri may have run out of gas here a little bit because they've been in must-win mode for a while now. And hell, this is another, must-win opportunity. If they win this game on Saturday, it pretty much clinches them in the NCAA tournament, even after that loss the other day, at least I would think. So they should be heavily motivated, but sometimes the heavily motivated team doesn't always perform the best.
They're pressing a little bit out there. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Missouri reminded, I think, everyone why they've been such a frustrating team all year. The way they went down there and played at Oklahoma and Arkansas. For me, it's not even about the win and the bounce back, and it was a good one. But seeing Acuff getting back to business worked wonders for my confidence because when he's playing like that, I mean, good grief, what are you going to do? So, and it doesn't really matter, I don't guess, whether we pick Arkansas or Missouri. Maybe it depends on who gets that 4 seed between Mizzou and Tennessee. But Tennessee would also have to lose to Vanderbilt for that to even matter, and I don't think they're going to. We can get to that one next. Tennessee at home against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think Tennessee holds serve here. I mean, they've already beat them once, right? They beat them in Nashville.
And we don't know about Nate Ament, but, man, the thing about it is still, and whether they have them or not, they're so damn physical and tough on the glass and everything. And at home, I think it should be enough for them to get by a Vandy team. It's they're kind of, I don't know if reeling is the right word, but they're not playing well right now.
Tennessee's also already played a game without Nate. And they've known, it's not like one of those things where they're going to wake up on Saturday morning and be like, oh crap, Nate Ament's not here. Like they've known for a while. I think, regular season Rick usually has the troops ready to roll. Mm-hmm. I think they'll win probably close. I don't think they're just going to like kick their ass, but I think Vanderbilt is going to be perfectly fine to roll over and let them pet their belly.
Yeah. Ole Miss hosting South Carolina. I don't know that anyone cares, but
I guess Ole Miss.
I guess so. Does Josh Hubbard rally the troops at the hump and beat Georgia? Yeah, I don't think so either. And then the last one is Texas, who we just saw last night, hosting a oddly hot Oklahoma team.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough game. In Texas is in the NCAA tournament. Like they're in the same kind of range that Arkansas was in last year, where it's like everyone keeps doing a thing. Oh, need one to be safe. But I think Texas is safe. They will really be safe if they win Saturday. And so I think that will be enough to probably push them over the edge. And, I think they'll respond and win Saturday.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let me calculate the seeds here. And so obviously Florida would still be number 1. Bama still 2, Arkansas 3, Tennessee 4. So like all that would stay the same. The way the rest of it would shake out based on what we did, it would change some things for Arkansas. So beforehand, where we had it was the winner of Ole Miss and Auburn would play Vanderbilt and then play Arkansas. It's the winner of Auburn and Mississippi State would play Georgia and then play Arkansas on Friday.
I'd rather Vandy, if I'm being honest.
I'd rather play Vanderbilt than Georgia. Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I'm cool with that.
The last thing I want to see, if I'm being honest, is for this front court to have to see Somto again before March Madness.
Yeah, that's the thing with Vandy is they have no size at all. So it's like, if you can't even exploit our biggest weakness, I feel like we're immovable against you.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what else happened in here? This actually, and I think the only way. Well, I know that the only way Kentucky would be at play for one of those double buys at this point is if they win and a bunch of stuff happens that works out for them. But this scenario has them as the 10. They would be Wednesday sadness if they lose to Florida and this shook out the way that we had it there. Which I don't know that we picked anything overly crazy, but tough stuff, man. Missouri would go from fighting for a top 4 seed down to 8. In this scenario, Texas A&M would be the 5, Texas would be the 7. So one Saturday can shake up a lot of stuff. This is why it was so important for Arkansas to win last night, because going into last night's game, folks, Arkansas had a ceiling of a 2 seed and a floor of a 7. And that's a wide variance with 2 games to play.
Well, in Missouri losing their midweek game to Oklahoma just kind of shook up this whole thing, because we kind of felt earlier, Monday, we were like, shit, Missouri's probably the front runner to be the 3 seed. Genuinely, it kind of looked that way. Now all of a sudden you lose one game you weren't supposed to lose, and now it's like it just kind of shook up the whole thing. And I feel like it just gave Arkansas a lot of comfort in this situation.
Yes, it seems like it definitely did. Hey, shout out to our partners over at Alumni Hall, by the way. We really appreciate them. They're your destination for the latest and greatest in Razorback apparel, whether it's jerseys, hats, t-shirts, polos, hoodies, whatever, tailgate gear, you name it. They have all the top brands and all the newest merch available for you. Maybe they'll even unveil the Tyson logo jerseys here soon. Who knows how that's going to work out. I believe that we're going to be out there next Friday for Inside Arkansas Live in advance of Arkansas's SEC tournament opener. And if I'm not mistaken, opening weekend of SEC baseball. I think that's right. But drop by anytime, 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville, or shop online and use code INSIDEAR20 for 20% off your first purchase. All right. We talked a little bit about Darius Akob, and I don't want to. We've been talking about this all year. Like, we've been on the Darius Akob campaign the entire season. We've been fighting the draft nerds, and there's been a whole lot of shade that's been thrown at him, but it's mostly from the I have a Twitter account in Microsoft Excel crowd. You know what I mean? But a lot of folks have been starting to take notice after that performance last night. Akob got his flowers. Right? Nobody can be mad about disrespect or underrated or anything like that. A lot of really, really good things were said about him, but what stood out to me the most was what Sean Miller had to say after the game. And we're talking about a sitting SEC head coach who's been in this business for a long time, and unprompted, he wasn't even asked about Darius Akob, and had some really, really nice words to say about him. I know a lot of people have heard this, but I want to play it and then react to this, because I thought this was pretty powerful stuff. And that almost means more, if I'm Akob, or if I'm a Razorback fan, hearing that from an opposing coach after you just kick their ass, that means more to me than some of the other tweets and the random stuff that comes out of there. What Jeff Goodman says after a game, I thought this was pretty good stuff. So let's listen to what Sean Miller had to say.
Just going to make one statement here. Usually, a guy like Akob gets too much credit or too much respect as a young player in college basketball. That can happen sometimes when a guy is that highly touted and certainly has this bright future beyond college like he does. But in my time, and I'll just go 34 years, I've never seen a point guard better. And when people talk about, who's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft, or who's the best player in the conference, I mean, just for a perspective, and I think our conference is great, he averages 25 points a game. I'll just start right there. He shoots 40% from the three-point line. He leads our league in assists. I think he's the first player since Pete Maravich who's led our league in both points and assists. If you look at Arkansas as a team, the best thing they do is they never turn the ball over. And that's because he has the ball in his hands 80% of the time. His assist-to-turnover ratio is astonishing. And not until you actually are in the game and you feel his presence. The adage of a point guard makes the game easier for his teammates. He's a textbook prime example of that. I just have never been on a court where one player at that position is any better than he is. Greatness is how I would describe his game, and seems like an amazing young man. And, just to watch, I bring it up because this is game 30. He's got several weeks or a month or so left. But guys like him, they just don't come into college basketball very, very often. I mean, he's a generational player. He's really, really good. And this number one pick thing, I don't know why people aren't talking about him more. I can't imagine anybody better.
Sheesh.
Listen,
Sheesh.
Sometimes we hear the coach speak of you get asked about a guy and you say, oh yeah, no, great player, one of the best in our conference. Yeah, no, that guy's a stud. And then, us nerds as reporters, we take it and we write our story. Hey, so-and-so said this guy's the best player in the country. And we do that during fall camp a lot. That was not a coach speak answer. That was not a just kind of half-assed, oh yeah, you asked me about Darius Akob, I think he's pretty good. That was very real, legitimate, authentic praise right there. And I appreciated it a lot. And I think he's right. I think there's a weird, with some guys, I love what he said about how some young players can get respected too much almost. You see that happen more often than not. And then sometimes there's like just a hesitation to embrace and respect some of these guys. And that's what it is with Darius Akob. We can just call it what it is. We're now 30 games into the year, and there are still some people who are not willing to, cut loose and just be like, hey, this guy is freaking phenomenal. And that's more about them than it is about Akob or anything else. But I really appreciated that from Sean Miller, because it was very real. He wasn't just kind of saying it to say it. That was a legit tangent.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Some really good stuff there. And I love that he called out some of the criticisms against him from a standpoint of, well, he's ball dominant. He's ball dominant. And, well, why wouldn't you want him to be? Like, it's unreal when he's highly efficient and is productive and impacts winning the way that he does. And, like he mentioned there, Arkansas doesn't turn over the ball. Why? Because he's got it in his hands 80% of the time. Like, why wouldn't you do that? I'm glad that he called some of that stuff out, because it's very, very true. Any coach in the country would be fortunate to have a guy like Darius Akob. But no, I thought that was cool, man. That was some high praise there. And you're right. Every coach kind of goes about it a little bit differently. Sometimes it's just kind of the canned coach speak of, he's a great player. We've got a lot of great players in this league, whatever. Cal, he's always got his guards. Okay. But that was authentic, man. And he went in depth with it, and it was pretty good. I started to pull the clip, but we poured one out for Jordan Pope last night because he had 4 fouls in 4 minutes.
He
ripped
was
hilarious. Somebody, it might have been Jackson Fuller, asked him about Pope getting in foul trouble, and he was like, yeah, it just seemed like he wasn't really interested in playing basketball tonight. So it's unfortunate.
He was like, he just did not participate in this game. He just did not participate.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that. Curtis, when in terms of the Akob thing, like, the thing we always look for in sports is these special players, teams, coaches that rise above what we know to believe. Like you see a team and you're like, hey, you can't win with freshmen. And then John Calipari wins the 2012 national championship with a bunch of freak freshmen. Like, that's special. You always look for these things that kind of rise above what we know. And as a former draft guy myself, I know that the NBA draft guys, I get the standpoint of, hey, it's all about the process more than it is the results. And so that's what draft guys look at, is not only what you're doing, but how are you doing it? And are you going to consistently do that? And so it's perfectly a normal line of thinking to say, hey, how is a 6'2", 6'3" guard who's not an explosive athlete, like, how is he going to, that's a very fair line of thinking. But I don't understand why there's no acknowledgement for the other side of it, where it's like, okay, so then if he's this 6'2", 6'3" guard who's going to run into issues, why does size not bother him at the rim?
Mm-hmm.
Why does, he not struggle at all to get to any spot on the floor? Why does he finish with floaters? Does he finish mid-range, left hand, right hand, through contact? He shoots the three well. Why does his numbers and his production and his consistency never drop off? He literally had 2 games that weren't out of this world, and we were like, what's wrong with Darius Akob? We genuinely, as a fan base, and you had a nerd, I don't even remember the guy's name, Jamie Shaw?
Yes.
Jamie Shaw, who does a victory lap over a game where Darius had 22 and 6 or something like that. You know what I mean? Just crazy stuff. And I think it's crazy that people are failing to see someone who does rise above what we know to believe. There's only a handful of small guards that are dominant in the NBA, or that have had great success. You think of Dame Lillard, Kyrie, Steph, I'm sure, Chris Paul. There's really only a handful of guys. And I think what we've now realized is Darius is way closer to that than he is to any of these other bums that people try and compare him to. And that's what Kentucky fans, it took them a while to realize, even they realize it, because that was their hesitation at first. Oh, you're telling me this guy's as good as Derrick Rose or John Wall? You're telling me he's going to put up those numbers? Yes. And that's exactly what the hell he did. In fact, he put up better numbers than that. And so it's I think that what's going to happen is Darius Akob is going to have a tremendous NBA basketball career, similar to, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Dame Lillard or Kyrie or any of those guys, but I think he's going to be, Jalen Brunson, someone like that. And people are going to be like, oh, damn, we missed this because we were so focused on semantics and we were so focused on what we thought we knew that we failed to appreciate a guy who is special enough to rise above all of it. And Sean Miller clearly is not.
Yeah. And it's the strangest thing about it is scout or evaluator ego getting in the way of just saying, hey, you know what? Evaluate this kid based off of his high school and how he looked on the EYBL, which is all you had to go off of. USA basketball too, I guess. But guess what? He got to college and he got a hell of a lot better. He's just so much better of a player. He developed. He put it all together. And I think it's just okay to be able to say, hey, how hard would it be, instead of being like, yeah, but this, that, just trying to shame everything that the guy does, or pretend that it's not real, or dig deeper into some formula or algorithm to discredit him. Just say, wow, man, he's a hell of a lot better than I remember watching him on the EYBL his last summer. That's it. That's all you have to do. And nobody would be like, yeah, you're an idiot for not seeing it. No, because the player that people are hell-bent on making him out to be is what he was at the time. Now he's just such an improved version of himself. He's figured it out.
Yeah, Curtis, if there were another, like if Arkansas this year recruited another 6'2" guard who shot 31% over the summer from three, I probably would have some questions of oh, damn, is that guy going to do that? I would have those same questions again, but when those questions are then answered immediately and answered emphatically, yeah. He's shooting 44% or something like that from three. And he's an 80% free throw shooter. Everything points to him being a good shooter. You just have to accept that. You can't just not look at that and just be like, no, I'm going to stick with the sample size of 6 weeks when he was 17 years old. That's insane to me.
Yeah, come on. We got to be a little bit better than that, I think. Okay, one other thing I want to get to, and then we'll get into the chat and see if we can have a little bit of fun in here for the rest of the show. But we gave our thoughts on. We were at the game last night and the halftime ceremony and everything, and we talked about how we feel about Nolan Richardson getting honored and getting the statue, and that was great. But we weren't able to hear what others said until after the show, but the press conferences were going on, and we were in the middle of everything else. So first of all, I loved when they asked the players about it, up there, and Trevin was like, he should have been had that. What are you talking about? I thought that was really funny, but Trevin blunt and to the point as always. But I did just want to share John Calipari's reaction. I put together 2 clips of what he had to say.
Real quick, before you do, I don't know if you noticed, and it might be in this video that you're about to play. Cal had a hilarious tendency last night to be asked a question about something, answer it, and then immediately just shift to a completely different topic. Yes. He did that 3 or 4 times, and I think this was an example of it.
Yeah, was this when he was like, yeah, Nick Pringle, he's got his limitations, but so does everybody else. Hey, Nolan Richardson.
No, literally, that was happening. And then someone asked him, they asked him about something about the Nolan Richardson thing or something like that. And then at the very end of it, he was like, and DJ was good. DJ was, he was active. He's confident. I'm like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, let's hear what Cal had to say about this. Some funny little tidbits in here.
How about Nolan's statue? They put an addendum in my contract that I had to go out and clean that thing once a week. So if there's bird poop on it, it's up to me to go wipe it off, which I will do in a pleasant way. I would love it. He's been so good to me since I've been here. And I'm going to tell you again, that one thing I said to Hunter, you guys are talking to me, has anybody talked to Coach Richardson to make sure he's good with this? And he said, yeah, Coach said he'd be exactly what, so he was in my corner from day one. And then the other one is, how about Tyson Foods doing what they're doing? On the uni, come on now. That is huge. It's huge for the athletic department. It's huge for the athletes. It's huge for basketball, football. It's huge for us. Because any place that you can add revenue that you're going to be able to take care of kids is big. And for Johnny to do it and the Tyson Foods to do it, it's a big deal. Eddie Sutton and Nolan Richardson, we're all standing on their shoulders. Anybody that follows those two, they built this. And they built it their own way, but they built it. Coach deserves a statue. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He deserves that statue. I loved it when we did it for Joe B. Hall at Kentucky. And I was the one wiping he'd call me, did you go out there and wipe that thing up? Yeah, I got it. I got you. But this for him, and it's great that you see the response he gets everywhere he goes. Everybody knows what he did here. Won a national title. That kid didn't get hurt. They'd have won 2.
Nah, I don't want to think about that anymore. But that really good stuff there from Cal, man. It's a funny man, John Calipari.
He's a funny man, and just what a personality. And I will say this is also very consistent. He mentioned day one and sort of the process of him being hired and how Nolan Richardson kind of factored into that. He spoke about that in that moment. What that though actually looked like behind closed doors, I don't know, but he's been very from day one, from at his opening press conference, he was telling stories about how, there's this picture of him and Nolan coaching against one another back in the day, and he had that framed in his office. Like, the reverence he's had for Nolan seems to go back way back. And these, by the way, these are two guys that competed against one another and frankly probably rubbed each other the wrong way on more than one occasion. I don't think either guy would be afraid to admit that. But I think it says a lot that Nolan, one, was 100% all on board, was like, oh, dude, we can get Calipari. I know how great that guy is. Hell yeah, bring him in. Yeah. And that Calipari having his, back and forth with Nolan Richardson. I mean, think about it. John's the coach at Kentucky who used to coach against Nolan Richardson every year. Why would he have a good relationship with Nolan Richardson? But he knew as soon as he was involved with Arkansas, he's like, I need this guy in my corner. I respect him, and I really appreciate that. And I think Hog fans do as well.
Yeah, I like that Cal seems to really embrace the idea and the thought of this job is bigger than me. And that doesn't have to be the case for a guy like Cal. He's a active Hall of Famer. He has won a national championship. He has done all these things. He is one of the best to do it. And it would be easy for him, especially because you hear some of the one-liners, right? Like the recruiting pitch of, hey, nothing's changed but the address. This is the same operation, whatever. And people are like, oh yeah, Cal University, sure. But when he does that, he understands that how much it matters to the fan base and the tradition of the program and the standard that those who came before him set and everything like that. I really appreciate that because he could just shrug it off or give the the canned cliche cookie cutter types of answers there. But that was really good. And he kind of goes back to his playing the hits of the whole blue collar thing when he's like, yeah, I'll go out there and wipe the bird crap off of the So.
Which, by the way, he's not doing that. That is not what's happening. Someone will be wiping it off. It will not be John Calipari. I'll just tell you that.
What did he say? I would do it in a pleasant way. What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm sure he would. Well, Curtis, you remember back when John Calipari first got hired at Arkansas, and we all were – we were hanging on his every word because we were just so excited and because we knew how big of a deal this was. But we were like looking deeply into everything he said because we wanted everything he said mattered. When it talked about his recruiting plan or what he was going to do at Arkansas, his time at Kentucky, it was all very notable. And I think as Hog fans, we were all looking at him to kind of see how he felt about it. Like, hey, are you doing this just because you have nothing else to do, because you're bored? Do you really love Arkansas? Do you really care about us? And we even kind of were, not concerned, but like we wondered where we're like, what does he really feel? Like, is this just one last stop for him? Or is Arkansas really something that he loves, respects, and appreciates and has pride in? And I think comparing that, how we felt back then to right now, it's night and day. And I also think, if you think about this from his perspective, he has now gone to war. He's coached in Bud Walton Arena 50 plus times or whatever, been ingrained with this fan base. He's been ingrained with this community. I think he feels differently about it now than he did maybe back then when he first got hired. Not to say that he didn't love Arkansas then, but I think you can see his appreciation for this state, these people. Obviously, him and John Tyson go way back, but you can tell he really embraces being a Razorback to a level that I really don't know if I ever thought was going to happen, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And I wouldn't have held it against Cal, by the way, if he wasn't, wearing the hog nose and wasn't chanting "Woo Pig" and all this. Like, it wouldn't have bothered me because I'm like, listen, this is a gangster. This is a Hall of Fame, bona fide legend gangster. If he doesn't want to do our stuff, like, I'm not even going to hold it against him. But he does. He really does care about the state, I think. Yeah, no, I think he does too. All right, folks, get your questions in because we're going to spend the rest of the show for the most part in there with you guys in the chat. First, got to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Blue Ember Smokehouse. We were there yesterday. I wish we were back today. Appreciate them for partnering with us here at Inside Arkansas. A reminder, Monday, 7 p.m., come on out to their Rogers location for a meet and greet and a Q&A
with Malik Thomas and Amir Brown. We're really looking forward to getting out there and hanging out with those guys. Should be a really good time. And it's also really good barbecue. So we threw it out there. Hey, if you're not in Northwest Arkansas, you can't make it. They've got locations all across the state, 6 different locations: Fort Smith, Jonesboro, Texarkana, Little Rock, and Hot Springs. Go out there, 7 o'clock, get your barbecue, sit down with your plate, pull up the live stream on your phone. It's almost like you are literally right there with us. Should be a good time, but appreciate them for all that they do. Oh, yeah, one other thing. And then I promise we'll get into the chats, but we did get an update.
Yeah.
Baseball.
A very notable update, which will affect the schedule for us tomorrow. But I got to say, Curtis, I really don't know because I haven't talked to you much about this, but I think this is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Where we're going to start Inside Arkansas Live at our normal noon time, just like we do every Friday. We'll have 1 hour to talk about everything, which, we haven't gone quite an hour today. Like, we can talk about a lot in an hour. And then the baseball game will start at like 1:02, and we will wrap up the show as the first 30 minutes of the game play out. And I think that'll be cool. And I think people will be into it. And also most people are going to still be at work. So it's like 1 p.m. us live streaming at the same time as the start of the baseball game. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be good. Have they changed anything else for the rest of the weekend, or was that
not yet? Not at least not that I've seen. Unless it happened literally while we were on the show and we all missed it somehow. I don't believe they changed anything else, but I think they will, if I had to guess.
Yeah. I just don't want to mess with anything on Saturday.
Real quick, I know we're getting to the chat, but we're going to get to super chats first anyway. I see Washburn Idol says, does that mean it'll be televised now? No. To my understanding, it doesn't.
I think I saw a separate tweet that said radio only.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think it. I don't think that changes anything on that front. I don't know why. You would think it would. I still don't know why they didn't. Have a plan to stream it in the first place. But our understanding is that it is not. It does not change that. It's still going to be radio only.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Let's hop in here. We'll start with Filthy Tom. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Get your questions in. He says, would look bad, will never happen, but forfeiting Mizzou and creating a bye might be best.
So he did say this, by the way, before we had our full tangent on it. But I still don't think we're on the same page. Like, I still think that, like, our side is not getting through. So I'm going to turn it back to the chat now and say, we've talked about this. We've given our stance. We've showed kind of both sides, because there's obviously a case for you want your team to be rested and, not beat up going into the NCAA tournament. But we think there is a much stronger case for keeping the guys loose, keeping them in basketball shape, and also just keeping the competitiveness rolling. What about our stance is not registering? Like, what about what we're saying doesn't make sense? Because I get the other side of it, and we've acknowledged it, but I feel like our side and the way that Cal feels, the way that Akob feels, kind of makes a lot of sense. So I need to be told why what we're saying doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what was said a little bit earlier. In my thought process on it at this point is, they came back from Florida, and the things that we worry about are like, okay, the guys who are banged up with these nagging injuries, gosh, you'd like them to heal. Wow, it's a lot of minutes on the legs of some of these dudes. Well, it'd be good if they could get rested up and have that battery fully charged. And instead of just taking off for a few days or doing walkthroughs and film or whatever, they ratcheted it back up. They cranked up the intensity at practice, and then they went out there and played like we know they're capable of playing. They look better against Texas than they have since when? The Alabama game? Because I know they beat Missouri and they beat A&M or whatever, and that was great. But both of those games we looked at and we were kind of like, yeah, are they showing signs of wear and tear? What's going on in Florida? They got their doors blown off, but it's almost as if Cal was onto something with them kind of getting their edge back. So to me, if you're trying to keep that competitive edge, you don't throw a game, the last one that you have before postseason. So I would imagine, and we'll see what they do. Who knows, man? We might get that injury report tomorrow and we're like, oh, damn, half these guys are out. This is crazy. But I just get the sense that they're going to go over there, normal game plan, normal operation, trying to win a basketball game. And then because you have that double bye now, you get extra rest and extra time than you otherwise would have gotten, to where you can do both. Like, you play Saturday early, and this is the benefit of the early tip, you're home by 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something, and off the rest of the day, take off Sunday, take off Monday, And then you get back and you have a couple really good practices before you head to Nashville and get acclimated over there. And you go with some intensity and you get yourself amped up and you're ready to play and you keep that edge. And then you go out there and try to compete and see if you can win this thing. But Cal he even said that the issue for his team would be 3 games in 3 days. To go win. And why? Well, it's because you got 7.5 players or whatever. So there's some truth to that. But I'm thinking about that more from the SEC tournament standpoint than I am the Mizzou game. Now that they've clinched, it's like the pressure is off of you, but I don't think it's going to change their approach to the game, personally.
Yeah,
we'll see.
For sure. And then I see Filthy Tom followed up with the deal is you can't show up and not play hard. The only way to get rest is not to show up.
Oh, I see what he's saying. I get it, though.
See, but I kind of don't, because you get, even if you play, let's say Arkansas and Missouri play tooth and nail, die hard 40-minute game that really drains them both.
Mm-hmm.
It will be 1 p.m. on Saturday, and you will not play again until 8:30 p.m. on Friday.
On Friday, yeah.
What is how is that not adequate rest? That's 5 full days. And, I know there's some travel mixed in there and you're going to practice and stuff, but it's how is that not enough rest? That's way more rest than you'll get any other time of the year. And then let's say you lose that Friday game. You get a full week.
Mm-hmm.
That is Arkansas is going to get tons of rest, to the point where every single year when the NCAA tournament rolls around, we have this conversation of oh, these teams that haven't played since Thursday, is that going to affect them? Where you're kind of worried that you might get too much rest. That would actually be my argument, is if you rest the guys at Missouri, now you're saying you played Wednesday, you're skipping your game Saturday, you're going to wait 1 full week, go to the SEC tournament, maybe only play once, and then you get another full week. You would be going into the NCAA tournament with 35 minutes of action in the last 2.5 weeks. That would be way more concerning to me than just showing up and being adults and playing basketball. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I genuinely, this does not make any sense to me.
I'm thinking it's maybe more of a joke from the standpoint of kind of going along what we were saying. If you're there, like he said, the deal is you can't show up and not play hard. So don't show up at all. Obviously not really, but that would be the only way. If you have a game to play, you're gonna go play that sucker, And
that's my thing is I just don't see any harm in that. I get it. Obviously, if Akob tore his ACL on Saturday, then I'd be like, well, shit, this sucks or whatever. But it's I think if you go and play, I don't think that disqualifies you from, playing hard in March or being ready to play. In fact, I think it would prepare you for March better.
Mm-hmm. As a follow-up from Evan, I just want to put, because he said the college football playoff teams who all had byes except for Indiana for 2 years, they all lost, and that you need that daily discipline. I have heard a lot of conversation about that, of man, there's too much time in between, and there is something to be said for that also. Now, well, yeah, actually, I think I just agree with that outright. I don't even have a caveat.
That's what I'll go back to, is Saturday. If Arkansas plays the hardest game they've played all year on Saturday, you will get 6 days before you play again.
Right.
It is that simple to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Wash Bernardo, appreciate you, says, we got to crash a Super Bowl party this weekend. Yeah, you want to go ruin the Gold Rush. You want to go ruin a senior day. They're going to be honoring.
I didn't realize we were on Super Bowl watch for Missouri, but I guess it makes sense.
I think we are. Here's my thought process on it. Mark Mitchell has just destroyed Arkansas multiple times in his career. It's his senior day. So go ruin it.
Yeah.
Go ruin it. And it would be a little bit poetic, some poetic justice if Trevin went into Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
In his last regular season game and handed those dudes an L.
I didn't even really think about the Trevin aspect of this, that he already played his last home game as a Hog, and now he's playing his final regular season game at his initial home. That's actually cool.
Yeah, and they're still hung up on it. I saw somebody yesterday who it was under a tweet. It wasn't one of mine, but it was under a tweet of somebody saying, good on Trevin for, persevering through the 4 years and everything like that. And, he's grown up, he's playing well and everything. And it was sidelines Mizzou or something, but right away, had his quote from 4 years ago about, it's, when you come from a program where you didn't win many games to come here where the expectations are higher or whatever. And people are still hung up on that. And it's also still true. But if you're sticking to that for 4 years, and we know they're going to be booing him and everything like that, I hope he has the same type of game he did against Texas. It'd be awesome.
So, Curtis, on my math, I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah.
I believe Missouri has won one NCAA tournament game since 2013. So, but roughly 15 years, they've won one NCAA tournament game. Trevin had more NCAA tournament success last season in his third of 4 seasons at Arkansas than Missouri's had as a program in, the entire lifespan of high school students right now.
Wow.
So why don't you, if you're a Missouri fan and you think about saying anything to Trevin Brazile negative, just shut up.
Yeah.
Just keep it to yourself.
Leave him alone. Preach 90 says, contrast. Golden's a punk. Miller is all class.
Yeah, Golden is a punk, but
both are really good coaches.
Miller, in Golden is a punk on the court, and Sean Miller can also be a punk on the court. And by the way, I don't think that's a bad thing for either one of those guys. I think both those guys coach with a real edge that their teams feed off of. Did Golden? What did he say about Akob? I really genuinely did he say something kind of like backhanded? I'm forgetting.
No, he didn't. This is probably referring to the back and forth that he had with Cal during that game, I would imagine. I'm trying to remember what he said. He said something nice about him in the pregame, but I don't remember outside of that. He loves doing the Gator Chomp. If they go on a 6-0 run, Todd Golden does the Gator Chomp.
He just looks like there's a few different movie characters. McLovin kind of a little bit. There's a little McLovin vibe, but there's another movie that features like a skinny, nerdy white guy. But he just looks too much like those guys. For me, when he does some of those antics, I'm like, okay, let's relax here a little bit.
He will forever they will forever have kicked Arkansas's ass that night, but he will have forever had to put a get back guy between him and John Calipari.
Yeah,
that's always going to be a thing that happens. So let's see. Ooh, Evan Baker said, "What's your favorite dunk of the season?"
Is it recency bias that Trevin's dunk last night is up there?
I think that's probably I was getting ready to say the same thing, but I mean that was really impressive to do on the footer like that. So that's up there. I'm bored of his windmills at this point.
Yeah, nothing. My answer is not going to be an open floor dunk. Wide open transition dunk like that.
You know what?
I feel like Billy's had a couple in traffic that were decent this year, but I there's not one that sticks out in my brain. So maybe the chat can help us out in terms of like what's the best Billy Richmond in traffic dunk of the year.
Yeah, I bet he's had some good ones. One of my favorite ones, and I know it was a blowout game or whatever, but when DJ rose up out of nowhere and dunked over that big hefty fella from South Carolina, just put it right on his head. We were like, oh, DJ Wagner catching bodies.
I do agree with David. The off the backboard, which Arkansas, there's been a lot of those. That last night, was it DJ off the backboard to Billy in the final?
Yeah.
I like that one. They did it earlier this year. Maybe Akob threw it off the backboard to somebody. I feel like it's maybe happened 3 or 4 times, but I'm always a big fan of the off the backboard dunks.
Yeah, me too. And also, honorable mention goes to Malik Yuan for rising up and dunking on Federico. That one felt good. That one felt real good. The DJ dunks were nice. I'm trying to think.
Akob has like 5 or 6 total dunks this year, and all of them felt like big deals. One of them was in the half court. I remember kind of being like, whoa. Like,
okay.
Drove the lane and dunk. Wow.
Yeah, it's probably about it. By the way, that was hilarious last night, the off the backboard dunk. I always love when that stuff happens to watch the reactions on the bench or whatever. Like when Trevin postered that kid and then Malik Thomas is up there in the corner by the Texas bench and he was just like, it was crazy. The backboard toss, Elmer was my favorite one. It's like he's never seen anything like that before. He's just like, it's cracking me up.
Because what's funny is opposing teams have had some pretty good Like if we put up a highlight clip of opposing team dunks against Arkansas, there's some pretty good ones. Low key, the best one of the year, in my opinion, Michael Brown. He didn't play well against Arkansas.
Ooh.
He had a random like mid-second half poster dunk that we all forgot about because Arkansas wound up winning the game handedly, and Acuff outplayed him. All that. Michael Brown did have a pretty sick poster in traffic in the half court, and I was like, whoa.
He put it on Trevin's head, and it's not easy to do. So, yeah, I remember that.
And he's
one.
like, what is he, 6'4"?
Yeah, something like that.
That's always makes it cooler. Like back when Nate Robinson would be dunking. When you have a smaller guy dunking, those always get plus points for me.
Right. From Chief Chaco 96 says, where do you guys think Acuff is going to finish on the single season scoring list for Arkansas? Well, let me pull up Hog Stats.
Yeah, I was saying I'm literally pulling up Hog Stats.
He already has the freshman record.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay, individual scoring for, let's see. I'm almost there. Oh, wait. Never mind. It's taking me a while. Low-key, Hog Stats, the ads got me a little bit. It's taking me a second. Why is it taking so long? Maybe it's just so many points that it's having trouble computing.
That's probably exactly what it is, honestly. I mean, what's he getting ready? He's getting ready to be the first player to average 22 and 6 since Trey Young. And then if he winds up winning the scoring and assist title in the SEC, it'll just be him and Pistol Pete.
Him and Pistol Pete. That's one of my favorite stats that I've seen.
Yeah, which is just absolutely absurd. I'm waiting for this to load up too. I think Hog Stats is running a little bit slow.
I was gonna say, is something maybe something's happening here.
Yeah.
Because I had to refresh a couple.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll pull up a different one. Make sure that we come back to this.
Yes.
Because I want to see.
Continue to try for a while.
Okay. All right.
This isn't my fault.
Yeah. Keep working on it, will you? Washburn Idol, appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Says, DJ lost the undershirt and flipped to March mode. This is true. DJ loses he's no longer T-shirt gang. Yeah. And now he's out there getting buckets. Suddenly the three's falling.
What always cracked me up is it was never like a dry fit, any type of like elastic. It was always a cotton T-shirt, like straight up polyester cotton, just thick. And I'm like, how could it be good to play basketball in that?
I know. It's good to see, man. 6 for his last 8 from 3. And I don't even know if he had made 6 in all of SEC play up to that point. Like, I'm not sure that that's a thing that had happened. So that's a big development for Arkansas, man, because I obviously we all still want Malik Thomas to continue to shoot more from 3. It was good to see Acuff get it going out there. Volume, what he hit, it was like 4 of 6 or something last night. But when Trevin Brazile and or DJ Wagner are knocking down, it's almost like they have to knock down one a game. But if those dudes are knocking down multiples, that's so tough for teams to defend because Arkansas is really good around the rim, man.
I have an announcement.
Okay.
I have asked our good friend Grok the answer.
Okay.
Grok, he's never wrong.
No.
And according to Grok, who legitimately could just be blatantly incorrect, he says Todd Day has the record for most points in a season, 786 during the 90-91 season, where he averaged 20.7.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the score, if that's the highest average. Let me follow up and say, what is the highest single like per game number?
Well, because I can tell you right now that on the season, Darius Akob has scored 666 points.
So he'll probably get it if Arkansas just keeps playing basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a minimum of 3 games left. So he's going to be pretty close, man. He's going to be pretty close. Anyway, okay, I lost my place. We'll move on.
I'm sorry for distracting.
You're okay. I'm glad that you really dialed in to get an answer for this. Sharkensaw, he says, the DJ posters are always my favorite dunks because they're always so unexpected. Yeah, the South Carolina one. Also, the Mizzou one live in my brain forever. The Mizzou one was awesome because it was kind of like because of the moment where we're looking at Acuff going, ish, he's not looking too good out there today. It was coming right off of that Bama game, so it's like, all right, the 50 minutes are really wearing on the dude. You're down by 6. DJ comes in the game. Acuff is on the bench, and we're like, good Lord, are we going to lose at home to Missouri here? And he was really the catalyst in that run. I think it was like a 19-6 or something to have him in control at halftime. And it started because he came up with a loose ball and just went coast to coast for a layup. But then he had like the weird contested corner three that he actually made. And then, drove it from the right wing there and dunked. And it's like, dang, all right, DJ's kind of saving the day here.
DJ's a weirdly like clutch 3-point shooter. Like, I don't know what he shot last year, maybe 32% from three. He's 35, 36% this year. Like, on paper, not a good 3-point shooter, but it just feels like every now and then he'll take one in like a big time situation, and I'm like, this is going in.
Yeah.
And you just have a weird confidence. He has a knack for just making plays that you need him to make, which is such a great trait to have as a role player.
Right. No, it absolutely is. We're going to continue to get to your chats here for the rest of the show, but I got to tell you about our friends over at OZK Insurance. And we know that what sets them apart is they're an independent insurance agency. So it's not just one carrier. They're going to shop all of them to find the best coverage and price just for you. And now they've paired it with this full service mobile app where you can get all your policies under one roof, home, auto, whatever it is you might have. You can pay your bills, request roadside assistance, file claims, request policy changes, or even get new quotes all from your phone. So you get the best part of an independent agency, which is choice, flexibility, and dealing with real people, while also having the convenience of modern technology. If you're tired of being stuck with one carrier or chasing down paperwork, go to ozkinsurance.com or search OZK Insurance in the App Store or Google Play. It's a local agency with national level options, one powerful app. That's OZK Insurance. All right, we're back. Let's see here. This is interesting. Hickory Hog says, is Acuff truly going to get a look for National Player of the Year? I feel like the campaign started a little late. He will get a look for National Player of the Year from the standpoint of now he's being included in serious conversations for first team All-American.
Yeah.
He's not going to win National Player of the Year.
No.
It's probably going to be Boozer, I would imagine. But I looked at Ken Pom, and he's on the list. Like he's 10th on the list at Ken Pom. By the way, he's first on the list for SEC Player of the Year, and that has not been the case all year. So they're finally starting to figure it out over there. But yeah, I no, he's not going to win National Player of the Year, but he does have a legit case for first team All-American.
Yeah, which that's what I'm gunning for. That's what I'm going to be happy for. And I think he's going to get it. I do think he's going to get first team All-American. Boozer, by the way, extremely deserving National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Like, I know that when he gets announced as the winner, there's going to be some Hog fans in the replies that are going to be like, this is bullshit, it's rigged. But, and like you can make your argument, but it's like I do think Boozer, like I have no problem with him because you want to talk about the consistency of Acuff. He's been extremely consistent as well. But I personally, if I were voting and I had to vote objectively, I would be voting for Acuff Player of the Year. And obviously that doesn't mean anything coming from an Arkansas guy. I don't know how it's going to go, but I genuinely think he deserves to win Player of the Year, and that would be even solidified if Tommy doesn't play Saturday.
Yeah.
By the way, he's the only guy that I think you have any type of argument for.
I agree. He's the only guy in the conversation. I want to look real quick because I just want to see where he's at nationally. Acuff in terms of scoring and assist. Let's see.
By the way, Martin Terry has the per game average record for Arkansas, and that bad boy ain't coming down anytime soon. Dude averaged 28.3 during the 72-73 season.
No.
Now he didn't play. He only played 26 games, so I don't know if like I'm assuming his game just his team didn't go far, but like I don't think anybody's going to score 28 per game.
Right.
That's crazy.
No, Acuff. It has not updated on the NCAA site. So he's at 22.8 points per game. That is 5th in the country in scoring. So AJ DeBanza
up there.
AJ DeBanza is number 1. Jordan Riley from East Carolina is averaging 24 a game. I don't even know who that is. Deshaun Ruffin, who we saw for Jackson State, former Ole Miss 4-star, is averaging 23.9.
Wow.
And then PJ Haggerty is at 23.
PJ Haggerty's still playing college basketball?
He's balling out at Kansas State, man. They got rid of Jerome Tang. It's PJ's team now.
Wait, like the Memphis PJ Haggerty? Yeah. No way.
Yes. Yep.
What the hell?
I know, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Acuff. Acuff passed Cameron Boozer last night. Boozer's at 22.6. And then Acuff is averaging – somebody said – it might have been Ryan earlier. He was like, wait, What's Sean Miller talking about him averaging 25 a game in SEC play?
In SEC play, which
Yeah,
that's a huge part of this, by the way. He is averaging more points, more assists in SEC play. I think the field goal percentage might have now dipped below 50. I think it might have. But for a while, he was like 53, 54%.
Right.
And well over 40%. Yeah, he's absolutely been dominant in SEC play.
And I think he's up inside the top 15 now in assists per game. Also. So, goodness gracious, man. Akof's a monster, dude. I did want to look just real quick and see what his field goal percentage is. That's the other thing. He's just so efficient with the way he's been going about his business. On the season, Akof is shooting 49.3%, and he's 43.7 from three, and just a tick under 80% from the free throw line.
And in SEC play, 49.2% from the field, 43.3% from three, 24.8 points, 6.6 assists, 2.1 turnovers. Unbelievable crap, man.
He has got 193. He's about to eclipse 200 assists on the year. I remember late in the 2023 season where I wrote a story about Anthony Black getting to 100.
Wow, 100 assists. That's big.
Gosh, man, that's crazy. Let's see.
And the 2 turnovers is crazy too.
I know. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. JP Sullivan says, "Did 42 Doug show up last night? I haven't seen anything. If he did,
I would also like to know."
Yeah, I do not know. I do not know. This is funny from Lazy Turtle. He says, 2 days in a row, John's been gone. 2 days in a row, they've started on time. Just saying. We're locked in. I don't know what to tell you. It's
I mean, listen, I personally, I don't know. I don't know what, John has a lot of things going on. I don't know the nuance of the situation, but all I know is that, when it becomes my job to hit go live, I hit it at 12.
Yeah.
Like if that's my task for the day, which, it is whenever Curtis will do the stream, but his laptop's weird and won't go live. It's just this weird thing. Yeah. And so we've been just like, I guess 12 o'clock rolls around and we're like, we have no reason not to.
We hit the button and we roll.
Maybe there's some other task we're supposed to be doing. I don't know.
GM Loveless says we need someone that can take a charge and our defense would look totally different. I would agree with that a couple years ago. But they don't call charges now. How many offensive fouls have you seen this year? Watching any basketball, much less Razorback games.
I haven't seen it in the traditional guy takes a charge type of thing. You see it when it's a push-off, when it's a loose ball foul, when it's, over the back or something like that. You very, very rarely see someone hop above the restricted area and put their hands over their nuts. That just doesn't really happen anymore. And so, it would be nice to have, but refs have been basically instructed not to reward that anymore.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I started this, Loveless, is because after I can't remember if it was the Cincinnati or the Memphis exhibition. Either way, Nick Pringle tried to take 2, and he got whistled for blocks both times. And he asked the officials during the game, like, "Hey, what else can I do?" Like, I felt like I was set. Was I leaning? Like, what did I do wrong? And that they even told him that, like, "Hey, this is not something that we're really emphasizing as a call anymore. So you basically got to be on point to be able to get that call." To the point where Cal and the coaching staff, them were also kind of like, "Hey, might need to make an adjustment there and just work on verticality and walling up and stuff like that. Because if you absorb the contact and quote unquote take the charge, I have seen way more post defenders try to do that and fall flat on their back and it's a no call and they get dunked over than I have actually seen a whistle."
Hot take, Curtis. The game is a better product after this little tweak in the rules. And listen, credit to Jalen Williams because he did it at such a high level that he wasn't alone, but that it really forced people to look at it. And like the premise is they don't want that to be a part of your game plan defensively. It's like, oh, we can bait people into charges, and we can, if we just if we play such little defense, we will then get calls. They just don't want people doing that, and frankly, I think that's probably right.
Yeah, no, I think so too. We can tackle this real quick from Ryan. He says if we beat Mizzou Quad 1A and win 2 at the SEC tourney, I think we get that 4 seed. Well, let me look real quick. I've got Torvik pulled up here, and a win at Mizzou, which I'm not sure. That's a Quad 1. I don't know if it would be a Quad 1A. It depends on where they're at in the net. But still, it would be a big road win. So, neutral site. Who do we say they might play for? Vanderbilt?
Yes. Or well, it was Vanderbilt. Now it's
Georgia?
Now it's Georgia, yeah.
And that's probably more likely because this is as it stands today. So, yeah. So, let me throw Georgia on here if I can know my alphabet for Arkansas. And we'll call that a win. What do you say? Win 2 in the tourney? Okay. So, then another.
They win 2 in the tourney that you're beating
Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we would call it a loss against Florida in the championship game. So, give me just 1 second. I got to scroll through the F's here. Okay. Florida, loss. Let's see what it says. Arkansas at that point would be 20. Go put that in. No, it has them as the top 5 seed, actually.
Obviously, there's a lot. We have no idea what would happen to Virginia in the ACC tournament and all that. But
yeah, still has them as the top 5. I guess they feel like there's a gap there. I don't know, man. Like, is there that much difference? Now, I don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. I think Alabama's clearly ahead of Arkansas right now, but is there that much difference between the two? And then, yeah, Virginia, Kansas, I think is live because they just continue to lose here. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Not that it matters that much if you're a 4 or 5. It's just like what jersey you wear.
Right.
You get to maybe a little bit of an easier first round game, I guess, but
it would just send you to a different location, I guess.
yeah, exactly. From Root Beer Enthusiast, would a road win at Missouri be Arkansas's best true road win this season? Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would.
Because, I mean, it's right now it's Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's their best road win right now.
Yeah, it's become their best road win after Oklahoma's won a few games here.
It actually looks like a decent one. Yeah,
it's like actually it's aged well, which credit to us. We made that happen.
Yeah. Ryan wants to know, Andrew, why is Vandy so cheeks in baseball this year? It feels like it's been going downhill the last few years for Timmy.
Well, I definitely agree with that second sentence there, and that's what I was going to basically say is like if you look at the last 4 or 5 years of Vanderbilt baseball, last year was actually an outlier. And actually, we found out in the NCAA tournament that it was really an outlier because they got bounced in the regional. So it was like they were, a top 3 seed or whatever it was, but they turned out to be a little bit fraudulent. I remember Arkansas sweeping them in Nashville last year, and the talk coming out of that was like, oh, man, they've been left behind in college baseball. Credit to them because they responded from that with a bunch of wins and, wound up being near the top of the SEC. But I think I look at Tim Tadlock at Texas Tech, who's still kind of hanging on. Texas Tech isn't horrible, but they're not nearly – 5 years ago, Texas Tech had all of the top prospects, and they were nasty. We were playing them in Omaha every year. Yeah. They're not really that anymore. And Vanderbilt, I think Tim Tadlock and Tim Corbin, I'm not saying they've just been left behind completely, but I think there's a little bit of a failure to adapt happening a little bit. I mean, we saw that. I mean, you have someone like Camden Kojal in your program, and you're not even that interested in keeping him. I think that says more to me about you than it does him. Yeah. Same with Ethan McIlvain, where it's like you've got this big lefty that throws 98. And he's got a little bit of personality to him, and he felt like an outcast at Vanderbilt. He felt like they didn't really appreciate him for who he was, and so different personalities, different things, or whatever. And it could just be random things. But yeah, I think last year's Vanderbilt regular season is starting to look more and more like a fluke because they were pretty mediocre in 2024 and pretty mediocre in 2023 as well. I think they might just be mid now.
They might just be mid.
They might be mid with LSU, by the way, who's running through their own little bit of issues. That's going to be an interesting first weekend series, LSU Vanderbilt, and it's like, what happens there? If Vanderbilt beats LSU, then I'm all of a sudden being like, dang, LSU is ass.
Right. Yeah. I saw dozens of chats about Malik Yuan, so I just picked one. That way we could talk about it in general. But Pooh says, why are so many Arkansas fans confused about Yuan being out of eligibility? If he isn't approved for a waiver, our senior Malik Yuan is done. Is he a senior? Yeah, and that's – I don't know. I feel like we talk about this every other day, but it's he is a senior, yes. Well, why wasn't he honored on senior day? Or why wasn't he included in this or that? Well, it's because he's trying to get a year back. It's not for sure that he's done with his eligibility yet, because he had a situation at Ole Miss. He had to leave. He had to go JUCO for a year and then come back. And so he's trying to use that JUCO loophole to get approved for another year. Or he intends to do that, as I'm told. And that's going to probably require some time and lawyers and everything like that to be able to do it. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what that looks like with him. There's no guarantee he'll be back at Arkansas, even if he does get the extra year, but the option would be there. And so we talked yesterday specifically about, like, would you welcome Malik Yuan back if he had a year back? And there's been I see a lot of back and forth of it in the chat. And, some people saying it's not really in a situation where you can run off big men. There's such a hot commodity and everything. And I think we kind of agreed from the standpoint, Andrew, of, yeah, if you can bring Malik Yuan back, you bring him back, but he's not your guy. Like you go out and you significantly upgrade over Nick Pringle and get your bona fide starter at the 5. And then you've got somebody who's going to play the rest of the minutes there, whether that's, 12, 15, whatever, which is what he's done for a lot of the season. And he'd be a hell of a guy in that spot. Because I think a lot of people are under the impression of, well, instead of getting Nick Pringle and Malik Yuan, they're going to go out and get Adama Sanogo and Oscar Shibwe, and they're just going to play 20 minutes apiece. And that ain't going to happen. You might go get one stud at the 5, and then you need a competent backup in the other spot there. You're not going to go get 2 dominant centers in the portal. And if you feel that way, you're going to be disappointed once we get to June. They'll go get one stud. They'll bring somebody else in. So the question is, do you like Ewan's skill set and what he brings to the table enough for him to be that guy? Or do you want to go out there and bring somebody new in who might look great on paper, but you never know how it's going to pan out? Let's see. I thought we had another super chat. Yeah, we do. Okay. Washburn Idol says, so many people are going to look back and regret not appreciating Acuff enough. Well, it ain't going to be me, but I hear you, though. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people, sometimes you just get so caught up in it that it's hard to take a step back and just be like, damn, this dude he's incredible. And it is saddening how quickly the season's gone by. Like, that's it, man. He played his last game in Bud Walton last night. We'll never see him in there again in a Razorback uniform. That's sad to me. And so for me, I'm like, people who are saying, oh, just go one and done, in the SEC tournament and get out of there. No, play through Sunday. I want all the games that I can get with Darius Akob. I do not want this ride to end, but I'm with you, man. We are going to be really excited about next year's team and everything. I kind of feel bad for Jordan Smith Jr. He's a phenomenal player. He is. He's going to be.
We're going to be looking at that guy like, you better bring it, buddy.
Yeah, but his standard is going to be Darius Akob, and that's just not a fair barometer to put on anyone. So he's been incredible, man.
I mean, listen, you and I are both very opinionated people. Obviously, this is all we do is share opinions. Sure. And so, like, I've been there before where, like, I have my own personal opinion and my feeling about a person or a team or a coach or whatever, and I kind of let that cloud my lens that I view it through, and I let it cloud looking at the results, and I'm kind of, like, struggling to do that. That's the worst spot to be in as a sports fan, to where you see something objectively cool and you don't even like it, and you can't even have fun watching it because you're so caught up in the narrative or whatever. And I felt that way for a while about Steph Curry, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Not that not even from a basketball standpoint, but just I was a Rockets fan who cheered against him. And so Steph Curry's awesome career, my kids are going to ask me about it. I'm going to be like, yeah, I hated him the whole time. And it sucked. But I want to give Ryan credit here during this time period because he didn't let that happen last night. Trevin Brazile plays an awesome game where the Arkansas Razorbacks win, and Ryan had no problem enjoying it because he's like, listen, I'm not going to let my personal hatred for Trevin Brazile get in the way of me being happy for his success whenever he helps my team win. Like, this is what I want to happen. And so I think it's all about perspective. It's all about kind of how you view these things. And obviously, if you're not an Arkansas fan, you view Darius Akob through a slightly different lens or whatever. But I know us here in Arkansas definitely aren't going to underappreciate him. And I think more and more people nationally, a lot of respected figures are starting to acknowledge this and realize that this is true and be like, hey, let's talk about this. This is crazy that people are not giving this guy his props.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One more question here for you, Andrew, from Jaron Green says, big picture, Andrew, who gets left out, Nolan Souza, TJ Pompey, or Zach Stewart?
So this is the ultimate cop-out, but it's the answer. None of these guys are getting left out. Now, I understand why you asked this because, you're going to make a 9-man lineup and, like Friday night, I think Arkansas is probably going to start with a lineup that includes, Stewart, Pompey, Damian Ruiz out in left, and Brumbaugh at short, and it might not include Nolan Souza. That is a very real possibility. But I do think that, you got to look at this through a lot of different lenses here. This is a very nuanced situation. Zach Stewart has been swinging it out of his mind. He's obviously earned the right to be in the lineup. Of course, that dude's a stud. I'm all for it. He hit under 200 against lefties last year at Missouri State. He's only 0 for 3 so far this time. He doesn't have a ton of sample. We're going to face some matchups where you face a really good left-handed starter, and I know it sounds crazy. You're probably not going to want to have Zach Stewart in the lineup that day, or you're at least going to want to consider a pinch hit option. And so if you're going to consider a pinch hit option, that pinch hit option might be TJ Pompey, a right-handed bat. It might be Damian Ruiz, who you didn't start over him, or you have Cahillo in right, Zach in left, and Ruiz off the bench. It might be something like that. And I think Nolan Souza is kind of the nice little hybrid here because he can play third base, he can play shortstop, he can play second base, he can DH. There's a lot of things you could do with him. He can come off the bench, pinch run, pinch field, whatever. I think all these guys are going to get their opportunities. I think you're going to see all of those guys that you just listed start at least one game this weekend, maybe two. They're all going to get ABs. They all need to be ready to continue to get ABs because you might start Zach Stewart, but then they bring in a left-handed pitcher that throws 98 in the seventh inning. All of a sudden, you might need someone else. And so all these guys need to be prepared. And I know right now it seems crazy because Zach Stewart's swinging it so well and TJ Pompey's not swinging it well to be like, why the hell would you ever have Pompey in and Stewart out? It's, there's a lot of season. I think all these guys are going to have their moments. And I think Ruiz is swinging it well right now. Ruiz does not have an extra base hit to his name right now. And he's not walking a ton. So he's hitting 355, which is sick. I love that. He's not going to hit 355 the whole year. That batting average is going to come down. And if he's hitting 280 with no power and no walks, it's going to be hard to say, hey, yeah, just have him in the lineup hitting leadoff every single day. So yeah. I'm declining to cut down from your list, and I'm also adding a guy to the list. Damian Ruiz, I think, is going to spend some time rotating in with a lot of these guys.
Well, there we go. You're an NBA guy. Real quick before we get out of here, Jason Tatum, fully cleared.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's like about to just play?
Yeah, fully cleared to make his Boston Celtics season debut, according to Shams.
So this is very interesting, Curtis.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jason Tatum is phenomenal. I mean, one of the, 8 best players on the planet comfortably. Like, you can make that case from St. Louis, stud. The Celtics have played some great basketball without him. And it's because, Jaylen Brown has been playing out of his mind. I'm sure they're going to continue to win games because that's what the Celtics do. But that is it's very interesting. For Tatum's sake, they better hit the ground running because you're currently the number 2 seed in the East. You're 41-21. Which if all of a sudden you start losing some games when Tatum gets back, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Justin said, I wonder if the St. Louis Cardinals will be good this year. I'll answer that for you quickly. No. They've got like the cheapest, one of the worst rosters in the MLB. It's a full-on rebuild. Now, hopefully by letting some of these young guys rock, they finally get an eye on the future. Like JJ Weatherholt and, some of these other dudes who they're excited about moving forward. But this might be a 100-loss team in St. Louis, and that's not something that fans are used to, but I think they're tired of like toiling around in mediocrity with that franchise. So it's the ends to a better, or the means to a better end, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Curtis, my final thought is actually, you're going to love this because it ties everything together here. You know how I texted you last night at like midnight and I said, is this a safe space?
Yeah.
And then you responded later and I just never responded. I got embarrassed a little bit, but I was playing the show, MLB The Show.
Okay.
I've got a franchise rolling where I run the St. Louis Cardinals. I took over. I took the reins. And I traded pretty much everyone I could for Arkansas prospects. So, I mean, I've got Vahiva Aloy. He's not starting every day because he's still young, but he's in my MLB team. He's coming off the bench. He's Mason Wynn's backup right now. I've got Dominic Fletcher in there. I've got Andrew Benintendi. I've got Heston Kjerstad. My outfield, Christian Franklin. We're loaded with hogs there. Hagen Smith's, my 5th starter. Like I traded everyone. I traded Nolan Arenado for Vahiva Aloy, straight up 1 for
Nice.
1, just 1 for 1, just like this is I want this.
That's better than what St. Louis actually got for him. So
Yeah, and so I'm just rolling with it. I got to find a way to trade Wilson Contreras, but we're 15-12 so far. I just wanted to let you. I almost sent you a screenshot because we played well last night, and I wanted to celebrate that with you. But no worries. The franchise is in good hands.
good.
On my PS5, so we're good.
Good. Yeah, that makes me feel a lot better about it. Also, pour one out for Kim English. He's hitting the unemployment line. Providence
Really?
firing him. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, listen, this is just proof that like there is still good in this world, and like there is still justice, and there are still like things that make sense, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kim English famously was getting in the Twitter beefs with Eric Musselman and taking shots at the Hogs back when he was a Tennessee assistant, and then just fell straight into every job he's ever gotten. George Mason, and then over to Providence, and now he'll have to move back down and see what he can do. So tough stuff.
Love that.
All right. Well, congratulations on your franchise, MLB The Show. I'm happy to hear that it's going well for you. Probably better than the Cardinal season will go this year. But appreciate everybody for hanging out with us today, as always. Subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Find us wherever you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And you can find us right back here tomorrow. A little bit of a hybrid show. Like Andrew said, we'll go live normal time at noon and get through everything we need to get to. And then we'll hang out for a little bit of the baseball game and then get primed up for what should be a really, really good weekend. So for Andrew Ellis, Curtis Wilkerson, it's been Inside Arkansas Live. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.